Hey, this is Jamey from Stonemaier Games, and today I'm going to talk about my favorite mechanism in the new expansion from one of my favorite deck building games, Shards of Infinity. This is the Into the Horizon expansion. This expansion primarily adds two things, and related to those two things, a bunch of extra cards that you can just shuffle in with the standard deck of Shards of Infinity cards. So the first thing that it adds are these Destiny cards. And I think these are pretty clever. There's a lot of text on them and no art, and so they aren't quite as attractive as the other thing that I'll show in a second. Sorry, trying to get focus to work there. Let's see if I can get it to work. It's not focusing, but basically these cards say when you put 6 of these cards on this table, and whenever you reach 5 mastery in Shards of Infinity, you can gain one of these cards. And it's a one-time thing. You gain one of these cards. You only have one Destiny card for that entire game, and it's an ongoing ability. For example, this one says you can exhaust this card on your turn. So that means like a one-time use per turn to destroy a champion you control to gain 5 damage. So that could be circumstantially very powerful. And then the Agony of Choice says you can exhaust this card if you've played cards of at least 3 different factions this turn, gain 4 power. So that card might have you, instead of specializing in one faction, it might have you gather a bunch of different cards from different factions. These were nice. It was nice to give you a little reason to get up to 5, although I do feel that a number of cards in Shards of Infinity already encourage you to get up to 5 or 10 or 15 mastery. It's not just asking you to get to 30 to do the infinite damage card. So they're nice, but I think my favorite new mechanism in this expansion are these cards. I'm actually forgetting the official name of these types of cards as I pull them out. What are they at? They're called, I don't know how I remember this anyway, Ingeminex. Ingeminex are what these are called. And they are cards that come out in the card row, or they actually temporarily come out in the card row, then they go to their own little card row, but they come out randomly. They have the standard back of the cards. They come out randomly, and they are all like really powerful monsters that you have to fight. When they come into play, they do nothing right away, but if they are in play at the end of the turn that they come into play, so if you haven't destroyed them right away, basically, they have an attack. This one says each player destroys their highest cost champion. And so basically it gives you a little bit of sense of urgency. This monster comes out, you didn't expect this, a big problem comes out, and you can either deal with it right away or have it deal in oftentimes an equally bad thing to all players. And then whenever a player eventually, usually I found that players don't destroy these right away, but when you do destroy it, when a player does destroy it, you get a reward. This one says you may return a champion from your discard pile to your hand and then acquire an additional Destiny card. So this is very powerful if you decide to destroy it. It does have it requires 10 damage to actually destroy it. But here's the thing that I really like about these cards. So, and there's a caveat here. When Megan and I play Shards of Infinity, we play cooperatively. We have the Shadow of Salvation expansion. We play this game cooperatively. I think it works really well cooperatively. I also think the game is a lot of fun competitively when you're playing head-to-head with another player, trying to reduce their life to 0. And when you're doing that, I think these cards add a really nice twist to the game because instead of necessarily going after your opponent, when one of these cards comes up, there's a pretty big incentive to attack this card instead of the opponent. And so I really like that mechanism in a game. I like that idea in competitive games in general, not just head-to-head games, but games where you are dealing damage or hurting other players, where the game itself has something that it gives you, that gives all players the opportunity to target that thing instead of other players. We've seen this in like Civilization games where there are barbarians on the board. So instead of attacking another player, you can attack the barbarians. And so in general, I like this because it takes some of the direct conflict away from player to player and instead directs it towards something else that the game is presenting to you for all players to potentially target. So I really like that aspect of Shards of Infinity Into the Horizon. Those are my 2 favorite mechanisms. Really, the second is my favorite mechanism. Destiny cards are also pretty cool. And I'd love to hear what you think. If this reminds you of another game or expansion that has a similar mechanism, feel free to mention that in the comments. Or if you've played Shards of Infinity Into the Horizon and want to mention your favorite aspect of the expansion, let me know that in the comments as well. Thanks.